The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's Gold Group webinar with guest host Lester Cox.
Well, thank you, Andrea. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me a little bit here before we got started. Welcome, Gold members. Willie has asked me to take over the call for him today. He's traveling from another conference back to Albany. In fact, he should be in flight right now. So anyhow, I wanted to chat with you a little bit today about, Willie asked me to talk a little bit about lead generation. I think everybody on the call can always use more leads. And so I wanted to go through real quickly. Our call today will be fairly abbreviated, but I wanted to go through 5 different sources of lead generation that I think everybody, certainly at this level, should be implementing in their business. So let's start first with bold leads. And I've had Andrea put a script up that we use on a bold leads phone call. So when somebody registers on our bold leads for a seller over the net home evaluation, we use this script. And the script basically is you're calling the people back, same thing that you would be with any other type of call, only we modified the script a little bit to make it sound like we have a particular process here. So, for example, I like to use people's names. So if you look at the second one, it'd be, "Hi, Mr. Smith, this is Lester Cox at Pacific Arizona Realty, and I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to give you the updated valuation on your home. And I got your request through one of my many websites. I've just about got all the numbers pulled together, and the next step is for me to just simply drop by your home for 15 or 20 minutes, take a quick peek, and then I can complete the complete report and get that in your hands right away. What's best for you, mornings or afternoons?" When you use that, the key words in that script are "the next step is." The next step is. It sounds like a process. Sounds like something exactly what we want to do. By the way, you can use this for over-the-net home evaluations that you get from postcards or editorial ads or other types of lead generation for seller leads. The next step is, again, sounds like a process. Now, you notice I have not used anything of the universal callback script yet. Okay, so shame on me. Not yet. Hold on. Typically, what a bold lead is going to do, 5 out of 100 are ready to sell their house in the next 90 days. But so 95 of them are going to be coming back with something like, "Oh, I don't need you to come by. I simply am looking for a valuation on my home. I was just curious." Every now and then you're going to get that person who's a high I personality who you said the next step is, it sounds like a process. They don't want to disrupt your process, so they say, "Certainly, you can come by tomorrow morning." If you get that, to where you're allowed to come by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or whatever it is, then it's universal callback script time, because we want to establish timing and motivation before we actually go on the appointment. So we've asked for the appointment through the next step is. We've got the appointment because they said, "Certainly, tomorrow morning would be fine." And I say, "Great. Let me ask you this, Mr. Smith. Are you folks planning to make a move in the next 3 to 4 months?" So I'm into the universal callback script to qualify the appointment. If, in fact, they are looking to make that move, we're going ahead and going out on the appointment. We'll do the listing presentation and hopefully take the listing. Now, again, I said 5 out of 100 are ready to sell their house in the next 30 to 90 days. The rest of them are what you might throw in the trash, but I would really plead with you to take care of these leads, because they're long-term seller leads. First of all, we know they're all seller leads. They all own a home. And I know nationally that about every 8 years, everybody in the country sells their house. If I do a really good job of staying in contact with these people over the next 8 years, I'm going to be able to get this listing whenever they do, when the occasion comes up and they do want to sell their home. So, for example, if they said, "Oh no, I'm just curious, I really don't want to waste your time," or "I do the universal callback script and I have to take the appointment away because they're really not looking to sell their house, they were just accommodating me because I said the next step is," then I'm going to then ask permission. I'm going to say, "Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Smith, would it be okay with you if I set up my custom computers to alert you anytime a home comes on the market that's similar to yours or actually sells? With your permission, I'd like to just stay in touch with you with that information. Is that okay?" Typically, they will give you permission to stay in touch with them when properties come on the market. If you remember, years ago, everybody used flyer boxes, and if you remember when you put a flyer box out, the flyers would disappear, almost all of them in the first week. Well, that's the neighbors getting them. So everybody's curious about what the home down the street's on the market for, or will actually sold for. So rather than flyer boxes now, I can simply set them up on my computer, and I just do a reverse, just like a buyer. If I was looking for a home like theirs in that neighborhood, I just do the same thing when I set it up for the sellers. So then the next thing I'm going to ask them, also, Mr. Smith, with your permission, what I'd like to do is set up my custom computers to alert you once every quarter on the, I'll update you on the valuation of your particular property. Is that okay? Well, you know, since most people's home is their biggest asset, it's not a bad idea to keep an idea on what the valuation is. And if you run into any problem there, you just tell them, no, it's a free service. It's no obligation whatsoever. And once a quarter, we'll simply just update and email you the valuation on your home. Virtually everybody, when you present these in the right manner, everybody gives you permission. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to set up your long-term follow-up. Andrea, can you go to the long-term follow-up slide? Slip that one over there. You're going to go to the long-term follow-up, which is roughly a once a month. You're going to have something that you're going to do. You're going to, here it is right there. So the first call, you're setting up your MLS, and then the first month is setting up your call, setting up your MLS. Then you're going to be doing your snail mail. You're going to send out something of interest. I like to use Keeping Current Matters to produce my snail mail. It's up-to-date information. I can take a couple slides from Keeping Current Matters, and I can then produce those slides and put them in a mail and actually put a stamp on it and hard mail it to the people. That's month 2. So, for example, in January, for example, well, let's make this, that's out of order just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to do a quarterly update once a quarter. Okay, we ask them for permission for the quarterly update. So once a quarter, we're doing the quarterly update. So in January, April, July, and October, I'm doing the quarterly update. So that's the end of each quarter. And then in February, or the following month, after each one of those, I'm doing the snail mail. And then I'm doing the follow-up calls. For example, somebody in my office might do that call. Could be Debbie in my office, and Debbie would call up and say, hi, Mr. Smith, this is Debbie over at Lester Cox's office, and he asked me to call you and make sure you saw that listing that came on the market at 123 Maple Street. And if you have any questions on that, here's his direct number. Just simply give Lester a call. So I've been able to, in about 5 minutes every quarter, completely stay in touch with everybody on my seller list. Debbie makes those calls for me on the listings that they're getting through the MLS computer system. Debbie produces the Keeping Current Matters pieces and folds them up and puts them in the envelope and addresses it and puts them in the mail. And I simply, every quarter, I call AMS, I make a 5-minute recording, letting them know that I'm getting ready to send out a quarterly update on their property valuation, which would go something like this. Hi, it's Lester Cox over here at Pacific Arizona Realty, and the reason I'm calling is I wanted to let you know that I'm getting ready to send out that quarterly update on your home value. So I wanted you to watch your email box for that. And if you have any questions when you get that, please just pick up the phone and call me. Here's my direct number. I look forward to helping you real soon. That's it, guys. And then you just repeat that every 3 months, and you can run it out for 8 solid years. So for 8 years, you're staying in touch with these people one time a month for 8 years. Now, excuse me, think about this. 4 years down the road, somebody who absolutely had no intention of selling their home, their plans change. We know that there's people who get pregnant. They want to, their family's growing in size. They want to increase the size of their home. You have people who pass away and you want to downsize. You have people who are getting older who want to downsize. You have people who have job transfers. Any number of things causes people plans to change when 4 years before they had no intentions ever of selling. Now, you're the person who's been in touch with them for the last 4 years. Every month, for 48 straight months, you've been in touch with them with something they've been getting from you, including personalized phone calls. We try to get them to voicemail, or we use a slide dial on a lot of these calls so that we're not actually having to talk to them, but we can really leave just a voicemail. So for 48 straight months, you've been staying in touch with them. Let me tell you what. You're going to get an opportunity to take that listing. Now, if you take 100 bold leads or 100 Z-buyer leads or 100 editorial card leads or 100 any seller type leads, and even though those people aren't looking to sell today, they're just looking for evaluation, we know that out of those 100, 95 of them are going to sell their house over the next 8 years. 95 out of 100 are going to sell over the next 8 years. 5 of those people are going to sell for sale by owner. They're actually going to be successful and sell their own home. That leaves 90 people out of every 100 leads you get are going to sell their home sometime in the next 8 years. Divide 90 by 8 and you get about 11. So about 11 people per year for the next 8 years out of every 100 leads you get. Now when you start putting 500 leads in play, so you got 500 seller leads that you're following up with this type of follow-up sequence, all of a sudden you've got 55 opportunities every year to take a listing. That's pretty potent stuff. I mean, when you're thinking about 55 people every year out of your database with only 500 people you're following up on, 55 people every year are going to sell their house. And you have a really good shot. The longer you're into this, the better shot you have at it. And this does not take into consideration us doing any work whatsoever along the way with getting these people to also send us referrals. After you've been doing this for a couple years and you've been in touch with them for 24 straight months, not a bad idea to start asking them to remember you when they have friends, family, and other to refer you to those people looking to buy or sell a home. So that's number one. Number two, Z-Buyer. Let's take a look at Z-Buyer. Z-Buyer is a system I use. I almost call Z-Buyer like Christmas buyer or Christmas seller because it's like Christmas to me. Every day I get a list of people who are looking to buy or sell a house. Z-Buyer recently added buyers to their scope. They used to only have sellers that they send information out on, and recently they added buyers, and so they have now buyers, sellers, and both. Z-Buyer leads are leads that go out to multiple agents within a community. So if you're in Phoenix area, there's probably 15 or 20 agents in Phoenix who get the same list that I get at the same time I get it, and we all pay about $500 a month for this list. Now, the cool thing about it is most of the agents that I'm competing with just aren't that good. They don't work the leads hard. I can tell you, I know that because I sign up using one of my rental properties from time to time with Z-Buyer to see what kind of response I get. The last time I did it, I had one agent that followed up with me 3 times, and I give out a real phone number and real email address so I can actually count how many times they're calling me, how many times they're trying to get in touch with me. One agent contacted me 3 times, one agent twice, and the other, I think there were 10 agents total. The other 8 agents contacted me 1 time only. Well, the typical number of contacts you need to make with somebody is around 8 in order to facilitate a sale. So none of these people are contacting you with any degree, and most of them, if you're a seller lead, they are contacting you with only the idea of listing your home. Z-Buyer leads are a distressed type lead for the most part. People are not sure, we're not sure what their situation is. What you need to do when you're following up with a Z-Buyer lead is you need to call up the Z-Buyer lead and have a tremendous amount of empathy and try to help them explain to you why it is that they took the action to put their home on this Z-Buyer list. What is it that's going on in their life that they need to accomplish? If they could wave a magic wand in 120 days, what would their life look like, and how can I help you get there? You got to take the hands off about wanting to list your house. You want to help facilitate whatever it is they're looking for. That's seller leads. Buyer leads on Z-Buyer. Z-Buyer picks up buyer leads from all different sources. If you call up a buyer lead on Z-Buyer and you simply say, hey, I got your information from Z-Buyer, they're not going to know anything about what you're talking about. They're not going to have any idea who Z-Buyer is or how you got their information. So we don't even do that. I'll call up a Z-Buyer lead and say, hi, Mr. Smith, this is Lester Cox over at Pacific Arizona Realty, and one of my sources indicated to me that you folks are looking to buy a house. Let me ask you this, are you folks looking to make a move the next 3 to 4 months? So I'm right into the universal callback script. You get very, very little pushback, and I'll tell you what, guys, the Z-Buyer buyer leads are off the chart good. about 95% good telephone numbers, about 95% good information, and about 95% of them are for real looking for a home. So those are excellent, excellent lead sources. You just have to practice on how you're going to handle those particular lead sources because they're coming to ZBuyer in a different manner than what the buyer or the seller might recognize. They're not going to recognize why you're calling them. Okay, next thing, Commissions Inc. Let's take a look at Commissions Inc. If you're in the Gold program and you're this far along in this program and you're not using Commissions Inc., I wonder why. Commissions Inc. is probably the very best lead generation source I've ever seen in my life. Give you a little background. I was like the 10th user of a company called Realty Generator, which is the very first of the type of real estate sites like Commissions Inc. It's about 2004. I had that Realty Generator site, and in about 2005 or 2006, I sat down with Dwayne Legate in Denver one time after I'd been out to dinner with the owners of Realty Generator, and I said, "Hey, Dwayne, you know, someday we ought to build one of these sites." I said we could just do it so much better, and we ought to look into this, and we really want to have a site that does everything. And because we don't want to be spread out and we don't want to be getting leads from here and here and here and having to track them in all these different portals and all these different places. And Commissions Inc. Was born at that meeting in 2005, but it kind of just sat there and gurgled along for 4 or 5 years. As you know, the economy went flat and we went into the big downslide. And Dwayne and I didn't do anything with it. In about 2010, Dwayne kind of resurfaced with the idea, and in December of 2010, Commissions Inc. was really kind of born because agents flew in from all over the country to storybook this particular website. As you probably recognize, most times IT people get together and they design something and then they want to sell it to realtors. And usually what the realtors have to pick from has been designed by IT guys with no idea what the agents really want. Commissions Inc. is totally different. Commissions Inc. was designed by realtors, designed by agents who are actually in the business to provide what it is that we're looking for, and it's ever moving and ever changing. It's changed drastically since the day it was born. They wrote the first line of code in January of 2011, launched the first site. I had one of the first Commissions Inc. sites in May of 2011, and it's just been going like gangbusters ever since. Today, I got to tell you, it's the best lead generation site I've ever seen and ever used, and it is wholesome. I mean, this thing has tons and tons of good resources. I mean, from auto dialers to this complete CRM tool. All my bold leads, all my leads flow straight into Commissions Inc. They're all distributed from Commissions Inc. They're all followed by agents from Commissions Inc., assigned by the agents, and they're all managed through Commissions Inc. So if you haven't got a Commissions Inc. site, shame on you. You should be calling Commissions Inc. In fact, email to Danielle at commissionsinc.com, and Danielle, I think it's Danielle.Evans, DANIELLE.Evans at commissionsinc.com, and tell Danielle that I ask you to contact her, and she'll take good care of giving you a great demonstration on what the site can do and what it can do for you. You definitely need to step up your game and get a Commissions Inc. site if you really want to grow your business and take it to the next level. I will tell you that of all the millionaire agents that you see at the Super Conference, every time you come out there, and there's about 150 to 200 of them, I am guessing that just about every one of those agents, one thing in common, Commissions Inc. We all have Commissions Inc. sites. So that's Commissions Inc. Another source of leads that is always right below you, right? It's always there. It's constantly there. For sale by owners. I love for sale by owners in that you already have an audience of people who are predetermined to sell their home. What a great prospect. I mean, I could pick up a phone book and cold call like some of the other coaches would have you do, and I could sit there and call in a phone book till I'm blue in the face looking for people thinking of selling their home, or I can just call the for sale by owner list. Now, there's a couple things that everybody in the world is calling for sale by owners, right? So you got to really differentiate yourself. Number one, our USPs differentiate you from the rest of the pack. I mean, we'll guarantee to sell your home or we'll buy it. That's number one. Or I use guarantee to sell your home at 100% of your list price, or I'll pay you the difference. But here's one of the things that we do a little bit different. And I'll have my agents sometimes door knock these for sale by owners, because we'll take out a big yellow yard sign. It's a big yellow sign that says free or 24-hour free recorded info, 1-800 with an ID code 77 and whatever it is. And at the very bottom in small letters it says Pacific Arizona Realty, has the HUD logo and everything else, keeps us all legal. But what I'm doing is I'm offering a for sale by owner the use of my 800 number. So, Mr. For Sale by Owner, I'd like to offer you free of charge, no strings attached. I'll offer you the use of my 800 number. Here's my reasoning for this, Mr. Seller. You're looking to sell your home, and only one person is going to buy your home. But there could be 20 people who call on this sign, but only one person's going to buy your home. I'm happy for you to have that one person who's going to buy your home. I'll let you use my 800 number and my 800 number services just so I can talk to the other 19 people who aren't going to buy your home. And what my 800 number services is going to do, it's going to filter the people who are actually interested in your home from knocking on your door versus everybody knocking on your door or calling your number. Let's say you got a 4-bedroom home and I want a 5-bedroom home. I'm not going to knock on your door because I'm going to be able to dial the 800 number and I'm going to be able to find out that your home just isn't a match for me. So you're not going to be bothered by people who are trying to look at your home who are not going to buy your home. It just is not a good fit. So the other thing it does, it adds a layer of security. We have a record of everybody's cell number who calls that 800 number, whoever's phone number it is that they call that 800 number. They cannot block the call. We have a record of everybody who calls that 800 number, and so it gives you a level of security as to who is actually looking at your home. So that's a really good tool to entice a for sale by owner. And by the way, Mr. For Sale by Owner, the only thing I ask in return for this is if you decide to hire an agent, if you do decide to hire an agent, I'd just like to interview for the job. All right, let me tell you what. About 9% of for sale by owners are actually successful in selling their home. So of all the people who try for sale by owner, roughly 9% are actually successful. So 91 out of 100 are going to list their home with an agent. So you take 100 for sale by owners, 91 of them are going to list their home with an agent. About 40 of those 91 already know an agent that they're going to list with. They have a friend or family member or somebody that they're going to list with. So that leaves 50 out of 100, so 1 out of every 2 for sale by owners that go on the market are going to list their home with an agent that they do not currently know who that agent is. That's pretty damn good odds, guys. That's very, very strong odds, and that's just one of the tools that we use. We have a booklet that we'll give a for sale by owner, steps to get their home sold, and get it sold fast, and things that we do. It's a bit of the bomb material. But there's all kinds of tools that you can use for sale by owners. Willie could share a lot of them with you. He has them in his arsenal too. But that's just one of them where we use the 800 number, and that's a really good hook. And on top of that, what we get is we get leads. We get buyer leads for people who are not going to buy their house. Every time somebody calls that 800 number, we get a lead. Whether they leave a message or not, we get a lead. And by the way, I set that for sale by owner sign up when we record. I let the owner write their own script. We record it, and I let the caller know to talk to the seller directly. Simply press 0 on your touch tone phone. Now, to do that, you have to have an enhanced property tree hotline. So check with AMS to make sure you have an enhanced property tree hotline. And what you can do is, so for ID code 7705, when you press 0, it goes to this phone number. For ID code 7706, when you press 0, it goes to that phone number. For 7707, you press 0, it goes to a different phone number. So each one of those for sale by owner signs, when somebody presses 0, based on the ID code, I can direct it to the seller's telephone number. So the seller can be talking to these people directly. They don't necessarily have the seller's telephone number. They don't really know who the seller is yet. And so, again, level of security and also great prospects for you because these are people who are actually looking for homes in the neighborhood. I truly don't believe that people have so much time on their hands these days that they just drive around town and call 800 numbers to get information on houses. Just doesn't seem to be anything that we see happening. So people who are actually calling these 800 numbers are real live buyers, and that's a great source for buyer leads for you, and it's also another source to get seller leads. And these seller leads, again, you can throw those people into the same mix. Mr. Seller, also, with your permission, what I'd like to do is I'd like to set you up on my custom computer to alert you anytime a house similar to yours comes on the market or actually sells, so you can see what your competition's doing while you're trying to sell your own home. Now, you think that'd be valuable for sale by owner? Of course it would. So that's another one. The other one, the last one that I'll cover, is expireds. Again, a great source because these folks have already been trying to sell their home. They're probably a bit frustrated. And if you're not using the expired letters that are in the program, you need to make sure Willie gets those letters over to you. What it is, a series of 4 or 5 letters that you just simply repeat. And what you should do is expireds. You can get the list from RedX. The RedX are one of the Craig's approved vendors. And just contact the RedX, let them know you're a Craig Proctor member, and you'll get whatever special pricing they have going at the time. And you, oh, by the way, for bold leads, if you're not signed up with bold leads, you want to sign up, use the promo code Proctor 2015. Same thing with ZBuyer, Proctor 2015, and you'll get special pricing from both of those sources as well. So when you're doing the RedX, basically and RedX has a lot of coaching on expireds in there as well, but you know, there's a series of 4 or 5 letters that you can use. You mail one, you make the phone call on day 1 and mail a letter. You make another phone call, I believe, on day 4 and you mail another letter. You make another phone call on day 8 and you mail another letter. And you continue to do that cycle out to about 30 days, 32 days. So you mailed 8 letters, made 8 phone calls. Again, remember the magic number 8? Most people make only 2 or 3 attempts. You're making 8. And then you can even carry it out further, because for sale by owners, either relist right away. That's the nice thing about RedX. If they do relist, they come off your list. They automatically purge it off your list. So if you're using the RedX to manage this, you won't be mailing to people who have already relisted their property with the agent they had it listed with before. Most people either do that within a few days, or they're going to leave it off the market for a while they interview other agents. All right, so that takes care of 5 different distinctive lead generation sources for both buyers and sellers. Buyer lead generation is Commissions Inc. They do also bring in seller leads. Bold leads is strictly seller leads. ZBuyer is buyer and seller leads. For sale by owners, they're both seller and buyer leads. And then expireds are all seller leads. So that said, there's 5 great lead generation systems for you. I hope this has been helpful to you, and Willie will be on your next call with you. Let him know that this was helpful to you, or let him know it wasn't. Any feedback you want. If you have any questions for me, you can email me at lestercox@gmail.com. lestercox@gmail.com. I'd be happy to get you a copy of the scripts that I use and the action plan. And if you have any questions on today's call, be certain to let me know. Andrea, we're at about 35 minutes on the call, and I think I've covered everything.
Okay, and if any of our members wanted to know about pricing of ZBuyer or anything you've talked about, how would they get that information? Just email you, Lester?
I can tell you on ZBuyer pricing. Well, I can't tell you on ZBuyer pricing. Bold leads I can tell you. ZBuyer pricing is based on your population area. So like in Phoenix, it's $495. But I think like in Las Vegas, it's maybe $250 or something like that. So it's based on the total population and the metropolitan area that you're in. Some areas are very small. The smaller the area, the fewer number of leads you're going to get. I was talking to one of my coaching members this morning, and he's in Carlsbad, and he's getting about 30 leads a month. It seems a little low to me, because I'm getting about 200 leads a month from ZBuyer. But 30 leads sounds a little low. I think he should be closer to 60 to 70 leads a month, especially San Diego County. But anyhow, his cost is a lot less than mine as well. So I think it's all, they base all their pricing on the amount of leads that they expect to be able to send out, together with the population density and the amount of housing that's available. So but ZBuyer can help you out. Just use Proctor 2015 as your promo code. The bold leads pricing is $95 for the site, $95 for them to manage your very first zip code, and then whatever ad spend you want to put on your zip code. Now that gives you, the Proctor discount gives you free setup, and also gives you a $100 discount on your first zip code. And it gives you a $100 discount on your subsequent zip code. So you're saving a good bit of money using the Proctor promo code on the bold leads when you get set up. Bold leads, right now I'm getting, I have a $200 ad spend. So I'm only spending $200 on the actual pay-per-click advertising, and we get about 30 to 35 leads a month for that. I have somebody in Castle Rock, Colorado, which is just south of Denver, good friend of mine, and I got her set up on bold leads some time ago. I can tell you in her first 6 months of bold leads, she's one of our Diamond members, and her and her husband, they closed 23 transactions and had a GCI of about a little over $350,000 on about $6,000 investment in bold leads. So they'd spend about $6,000 to make about $350,000. Not a bad ROI. So that's your two sites. The Commissions Inc., they have different pricing levels. They do have an agent site now for a single agent. So if you're just a single agent and you don't want to spend the big money for the big pro platform of Commissions Inc., they have a single agent site now that's substantially less money. And then RedX, I'm not up to date on their current pricing, but if you talk to Michelle over at the RedX, she can give you the current pricing. Let her know your Proctor, and she'll extend all the discounts to you. For sale by owner, basically, you know what? You can go to forsalebyowner.com and find for sale by owners. You can go to Zillow and find for sale by owners. Oh, Zillow brings up another point. You know, everybody who goes on Zillow, when you go on Zillow, you can look at homes by, there's a category that says make me move. So sellers can go on Zillow and they can say, you know, if you gave me this much money for my house, I'd consider selling it. Well, you can communicate directly back to those people with one of your USPs. For example, I could have somebody that says make me move. I don't know if their house is worth $250,000 or $200,000, but they have a $250,000 make me move. So I could easily send that person a message that I'd be happy to make them move. In fact, I'll guarantee to sell their house at their $250,000, or I'll pay the difference. Please call me and let's talk about the conditions. So it's another thing that you can prospect on Zillow, and you actually use Zillow to find seller leads on their Make Me Move site. All right, so that made number 6. So Zillow is another source for seller leads. Believe it or not, and I don't know that too many people have ever thought about the Make Me Move idea. So anyhow, Andrea, I think we're all done. Darla, is there any other questions that you see there?
No, that completed all of our questions today.
Okay, that's a wrap then, and hope you guys enjoyed this. And again, my email, lestercox@gmail.com. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything you need that I didn't cover that I can help you with, I'm always here to try to help you as much as I can. Willie will be back with you. I guess this calls are like twice a month, isn't it, Andrea?
Really every other Thursday. We try not to do more than 3 a month.
Okay, all right. So Willie will be back with you in a couple of weeks, and he'll probably be able to share a whole bunch of stuff that he learned this week at a conference he was at. And I look forward to talking to you guys and seeing you at the Super Conference in September. Thank you, and take care. That concludes our call for the day.
Thank you, Lester. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
Andrea.
afternoon.